Okay, so good morning once again, professors. We are starting our presentation on the international business or international trade concepts. And I think group one will take us through the various approaches to international trade and look at some of the advantages and disadvantages associated with it. Then the other groups will continue. So group one, the floor is yours. You have us. Please start your presentation.
Okay, thank you, sir. Good morning, everyone. Please, we are group one. And group one, we have myself, Josephine Aqua, Tina Sam, Eugenia Tete, and Bridget Obin. Please, next slide. So first of all, we'll be talking about the approaches to international business. Approach to international business is the way we plan and manage our activities in other countries to achieve our goals successfully. The approaches to international business includes franchising, joint venturing, licensing, and wholly owned subsidiary. Please, next slide. Franchising. Franchising is an approach to international business which involves a company expanding its brand and business operations into foreign markets by granting local businesses the right to use or operate under its brand name and use its business model. The key features: 1. Franchise agreement. This is a legal contract between the franchisor and franchisee. 2. It clearly states how the business should be operated, the rights and responsibilities of both sides, fees and royalties to be paid, and duration of the agreement. The franchisor, which is the company that owns the brand, business model, and intellectual property. Franchisee, which is the person or company that buys the right to run the business. Please, next slide. Advantages of franchising. 1. Brand recognition and market penetration. 2. Operational efficiency. 3. Rapid market expansion. 4. Economies of scale. 5. Local market knowledge. Please, next slide. Some disadvantages also include the loss of control, high cost, limited independence, risks of brand damage, conflicts, and dependence on others. Please, next slide. Okay. Please, I'd like to skip this one. Joint venturing. A joint venture is when two or more companies from different countries agree to work together by forming a new business and sharing ownership, risks, and profits. So, for example, Ghana working with a country that is maybe Canada and sharing ownership. So, for example, like KFC, they have a lot of branches. So, yes, the key features: 1. Shared ownership between partners. 2. Shared profits and losses. 3. pooling of resources, that is money, skills, and technology. Please, I'd like to hand over to Bridget to continue with the presentation.
Prof. Bridget.
So advantages of joint adventuring as an approach to international business. 1. Market entry and expansion. It helps a company enter a new country more easier because the local partner already understands the market. 2. Access to a new market and customers. The business can reach more people and sell to new customers in other countries. 3. Sharing resource. 3. Resource sharing. Each company brings something useful like money, technology, or experience, so they don't work alone. 4. Operational efficiency. Work becomes easy and faster because both companies combine their strength and reduce waste or mistakes. Please, next slide. Oh, what's this? Disadvantages of joint adventuring as an approach to international business. 1. Loss of control. When two companies work together, one company cannot make decisions alone. They must agree with their partner, which can slow things down. 2. Cultural and operational. Companies from different countries may have different ways of working, thinking, and communicating. This can cause misunderstanding or delay. 3. Complex and conflict. Managing a joint 3. Complex or conflict. 4. Profit sharing. The profit must be shared between the partners so each company gets less than if they work alone. So please, next slide. So please, I'd like to hand over to the next person.
Okay. I hope the next person is available.
No, please.
Okay. So I think yes. Tina reached out to me. She's struggling with network issues. So I guess I may have to co-present with Group 1 members who are present so that we can get the work done. Unless the members who have already presented will take over responsibility, which ideally should be the case. So Prof. Josephine and Prof. Bridget, it may sound like lots of work to you, but that is how group work and teamwork, goals. So I was willing to do a full presentation, but on a second thought, I'll leave it up to you, the group members, to continue. So, Prof. Josephine and Prof. Bridget, the responsibility is on you. So yeah, let's.
Okay. Licensing as an approach to international business. Licensing is a form of contractual agreement where a company, the licensor, allows another company, licensee, to produce and see its products, use its brand name in exchange for royalties or a fee. The key features: intellectual property, royalties or fee, licensor, and the licensee. Please, next slide. The advantages of licensing: 1, revenue generation; 2, low investment and risks; 3, strategic partnership and market entry and expansion. Please, next slide. Disadvantages: there is loss of control, cultural differences. That is, people from different tribes come together to work, and because of that, because of their differences, they are unable to cope with each other. 3, market and brand risks for limited long-term benefits. Wholly owned subsidiary as an approach to international business. A wholly owned subsidiary is a company whose entire stock is owned 100% by another company known as the parent company. This approach involves the parent company establishing or acquiring a fully controlled business entity in a foreign market. This strategy allows the parent company to retain complete control over the subsidiaries' operations, policies, and strategic direction. Establishing a wholly owned subsidiary is created by using any of the points below. 1, greenfield investment. The parent company creates a new business in another country. This means buying land, buildings, and hiring local workers. This approach lets the company set things up exactly how they want, but it takes a lot of time and money. 2, acquisition. This is when a parent company purchases another company in a foreign market. It allows for quick access to that market and the ability to operate right away. But it can also come with difficulties in combining the two companies and with higher upfront costs. Please, next slide. So the following are the advantages and disadvantages. 1, full control over operations, full profit retention, complete control, and strong protection of technology and brand. Disadvantages: high cost and investment. 2, exit barriers, risk exposure, and cultural and market challenges. Please, next slide. So, in conclusion, approaches to international business help companies expand their operations beyond their home countries. Methods such as franchising, licensing, joint venturing, and wholly owned subsidiaries each have their own advantages and disadvantages. Businesses choose an approach depending on factors such as cost, risk control, and market objectives. Therefore, understanding these approaches helps businesses make better decisions when entering international markets. Please, I'd like to hand over to Bridget to continue.
Theories in international business trade. Business line. Competitive advantage. Competitive advantage is the ability of a firm to perform better than its competitor in the same industry by offering greater value to customers or achieving lower costs. Meaning, a country should specialize in producing goods it can make at a lower opportunity cost than other country, even if it is not the best at producing everything. The theory was developed by economist David Richard. Example, sir,
Yes, please.
sir, please, I might go off soon because my phone is slow and we don't also have light.
Oh, okay.
If I go.
Sure, you continue. Yeah.
Example, a country A can produce cocoa, and example one, a country A can produce cocoa too and rice, but produce cocoa more efficiently. A country B also produces both, but is relatively better at rice. A country A should focus on cocoa and country B on rice than trade. So please, next slide. Absolute cost advantage. This theory was introduced by Adam Smith. Absolute cost advantage is when a country or a firm can produce more of a good using the same amount of resource, or produce the same amount of a good using fewer resources than another country or a firm. Example one, a country A produces 10 tons of cocoa with fewer workers than country B. Country A has more absolute advantage in cocoa production. Example 2. Country A uses 10 units of resource to produce 1 car, and country B uses 15 units of resources to produce 1 car. Country A has absolute cost advantage in cars because it uses fewer resources. So please, next slide. So please, next slide. Competitive advantage. This is the ability of a firm or entity to generate greater value for customers compared to its competitors. It is often based on factors such as quantity, price, innovation, brand reputation, and customer service. Unlike Unlike comparative and absolute advantage, which focuses on production efficiency, competitive advantage emphasizes the ability to outperform competitors in the market. It involves strategies that enable a company to differentiate itself and attract customers. Like itself and attract customers, leading to increase increase productivity, market share, and profitability for the business organization. Competitive advantage of countries can be influenced by several factors, as explained by Porter's Diamond model. Porter's Diamond explained the main factor that help country or firm gain competitive advantage in international business. Factors including Porter's Daniel includes factors condition into brackets skills resource, demand condition into bracket local demand, related industries into brackets supporting businesses, firm strategy and competition into bracket how firms compete. So please next slide. Example, Apple versus smartphone companies. Apple had a competitive advantage. It produced high quality and innovates smartphones. It has a strong brand reputation that customers trust globally. Apple also offers a unique operating system that is different from its competitors, making its device more secure and user-friendly. In addition, Apple has a very loyal customer base how continues to buy its products, even though they have more expensive. Because of these factors, Apple is able to compete with efficiently in the smartphone industry and earn higher profits than more of its competitors. This is what gives Apple its competitors advantage. So please next slide. Any questions or contributions? So please, you have done. So please, this is the end of our presentation.
Okay. Thank you very much, Group 1. Dear professors, Group 1 has gone through their presentation, and now it is upon us to ask them questions if there are, or seek for further clarifications where possible. So I'm waiting for professors. Any question on what we have said so far, or you needed more explanation about something, we can go back and look at it. Okay, so this time I would not rush into finishing the presentation. So to the other groups 2 and 3, if it happens that you are not able to present today, no worries. We'll look at your presentation the next meeting. What is important to me now is to be able to determine that professors have noted very important core points. So I'm going to ask you questions, not to the group members per se, but to other professors. So take them. So question number 1. What are the various approaches to international business as outlined by the group? what are the various approaches mentioned in the presentation to international trade? Yes, maybe I may have to be mentioning names. So, Prof. Rashid. Hello, Prof. Are you there?
Yes, I'm there.
Okay, so we are listening. What approaches did you note down? Please, because of time, let's be snappy with our responses. So, Rashid, you are listening.
Sir, please, can you come with your question again? I wasn't paying attention.
Okay, so I'm saying that the group has presented to us the various approaches to international business, and I want you to outline them for us.
International business approach.
Sir, polycentric approach.
That is what the group spoke to us about. Are you sure? Anyway, go on with your submission. So, polycentric,
Sir, this approach deals with
No,
exchanging.
Just outline them. Don't explain, just outline them, just state them. Okay.
The ethnocentric approach.
Okay, so hold it right there. So, other professors, please, is this what the group presented to us? Did they mention any polycentric and whatever centric Rashid is leading us to? Yes, Professor Daniela. So I'm asking about the approaches to international business, which was outlined by the group members when they were presenting. Prof. Selekem, is that a question or an answer? If it's an answer, hold on. Bridget, if it's an answer, hold on. Let me speak to Prof. Zoe. Prof. Zoe, about the approaches that the group just outlined to us during the presentation. Prof. Zoe, are you there?
Sir, please. Good morning.
Good morning, yes. So let's hear you. The approaches mentioned in the presentation.
So they mentioned franchising.
Mm-hmm. I think I heard franchising. What else, Prof. Zoe?
They also spoke about licensing.
Licensing. Okay. Thank you very much. So you see, I did this to be able to check if indeed professors were following the presentation, and obviously it seems some people were lost. I don't know whether it is because of network or. So Prof. Rashid, your polycentric and the other one, I don't think the group mentioned anything like that. So where did you? Anyways, so professors, please, it's not about presenting and just going. It's about picking the core points that have been presented. Okay, so at best, you have your pen and your paper as the group is going through. You jot few points. Okay, otherwise we'll go through the presentation and then nothing. Okay, because it will be surprising that we'll finish approaches to international business. You'll be asked and then you give bad vibes. Okay, so the group outlined the approaches to include franchising. They spoke about licensing. They spoke about joint venturing. And finally, I think they spoke about wholly owned subsidiary. Please, is that okay to ask professors? And please note them down. Franchising, licensing, joint venturing, wholly owned subsidiary. Okay. Now they took each of these approaches, explained or defined it, and then also sought to tell us about some advantages and disadvantages. So again, I'm going to test my professors. What did the group tell us about franchising? Today I'm putting you on your toes so that if you don't pay attention to presentation details, obviously today will be a bad morning for you. But it's normal, right? Just that you have to take some lessons in this one so that your subsequent presentations you know. So what did the group tell us about franchising? Franchising. I think now we are all comfortable with the approaches. Franchising, licensing, joint venturing, and wholly owned subsidiary. Now let's talk about franchising. What did they say about franchising? Yes. Prof. Augustine Akol. Franchising. What was said about franchising?
Sir, please, good morning. Sir, please, good morning.
Good morning. Go ahead.
Sir, please, franchising. Sir, please, I want to use it in like a scenario form and how to explain it.
Okay, go ahead.
Sir, please, so for example, maybe like KFC is a company that's a fast food company. So maybe I want to produce maybe chicken sometimes. So I'll go to KFC and use their name, their reputation, and their recipes for my food. But it's not KFC, but I'm using their name, their trademark and everything, their assets and everything. So that is what franchising is. Is when a franchisee goes to a franchise. So
So, Augustine, can you gather these thoughts into a well-written format?
Sir, please, yes, sir, please. You have to go and come back again.
I have to go and come back again. Anyway, Rashid, you want to make a point? Go ahead. Then maybe I'll come in with you.
The franchising is a form of international business where a company, also known as the franchisor, allows a franchisee to operate its business model and brand with a strict rule and payment of fee.
Okay. Thank you very much. Example.
Examples, we can say KFC, ShopRite, Pizza Hut, Chicken Man, Malcolm. So please, I'm done.
Okay. So let me speak about this franchising so that professors will get it into context or put it into good context. So when we talk of franchising, right, and I asked our colleague to put it in a well-written format, because in exams you have to write it in a in a good format for marking. Okay, so what is franchising? You see, franchising is a business arrangement, or you can say a business contract, where one party, okay, called the franchisor, grants or gives permission to the other party called the franchisee the right to use its brand, business model, and systems for a fee. So it's an arrangement or it's a contract where one business or one party, the franchisor, grants permission to another party franchisee to use their brand or business model for a fee. As simple as that. Okay. Now, if you look at this definition, you can determine that there are two main parties or two main players, the franchisor and the franchisee. Okay. Now, this is what happens. So the KFC scenario you are all mentioning. So there are businesses in Ghana probably also doing this, or chicken, burger, fries, whatsoever, right? But then they saw the need to probably adapt the brand or the model of KFC. Okay. So they enter into agreement with KFC, where KFC allows them or permits them to use their brand name, okay, and their business model. But in return, the franchisee will pay a fee to the franchisor. Okay? Okay. Now, what happens is that when the contract is signed, okay, there's an initial lump sum that is paid upfront. Okay, so if KFC accepts your request, or they grant you the permission, you pay an initial franchise fee, a lump sum. Then on some agreed regular intervals, you pay royalties. Now, when that is done, the franchisor, which is KFC, would be given some form of support, like training, marketing, adding to the management and running of the franchisee's business. Okay. But one of the key things that is also important is that the franchisee must follow all rules spelled out by the franchisor because they don't want to compromise on their quality or pricing or anything. Okay, so I think the group gave us some very specific features here, right? Okay, let me pause for question. Any questions so far based on what I've said? Please, any question?
No, please.
Okay. So one of the key things you should know is that in franchising, the franchisee really has to abide by the rules, the terms of the franchisor, because the little compromise, it can affect the brand name and the business model. Okay. So they spoke to us about some of the advantages, but before I look into that, let's discuss. So what do you think are some of the advantages KFC, Kentucky in the United States is enjoying having, franchisees in Ghana and other parts of the world? What are the advantages? Yes, Portia.
Yeah, fees is good morning. It's easier to attract customers.
Okay, so the business is able to reach out to larger customers, right? That is very true. Any other to add on? So you can state the point that franchising helps businesses to expand their markets, right, to other customers in different jurisdictions. That's one of them. Let's see what the group gave. So we have brand recognition and market penetration. So had it not been for the franchisees in Ghana, I'm not sure we would be much aware of KFC, right? So it helps in brand recognition. And in a way, it also helps the franchisee companies to easily penetrate the market or easily enter the market, because then people see that, okay, this KFC is a big company, okay, fine. So they don't really struggle because the brand name has already been established, and it gives them that easy entrance or penetration into the Ghanaian market. I don't think the franchisees in Ghana struggled, right, in getting customers. Because immediately people or customers see the brand KFC, hey, KFC, KFC. They are so much attracted to the business. Okay, good. The other one was operational efficiency. Yes, this is true because, as I said, the franchisor, provides the franchisee with some help or assistance in terms of training, marketing, okay, establishing, systems and processes. So in a way, it boosts operational efficiency of the franchisee business or company, right? Okay, then rapid market expansion. I think I've spoken about market expansion, that, KFC had only their markets, in the United States. Now they have in Ghana, Nigeria, etc. So they are expanding their market. Then we have economies of scale. Okay, economies of scale. Now, economies of scale is a concept. I think I've explained this concept before. So let me give professors the opportunity to recall. Economies of scale, what does it mean? Economies of scale. Oh, nobody to attempt. Okay, let me call people. Prof. Kuju, economies of scale. You know, this concept comes with diseconomies of scale. So let's get these two concepts straight because they are very important concepts. So what is economies of scale?
Good morning, say.
Yes, good morning.
So basically, economics of scale is the advantages that businesses can achieve by increasing its scale of operation.
Exactly, awesome. So as the business grows or expands, the advantages that they enjoy, that refers to the economies of what? Scale. Okay. So as the business is growing bigger, okay, they tend to, reduce costs. Okay. Then let's go to this economies of scale because I want these two concepts well taken. Okay. But Pujo, you want to tell us about this economies of scale? So I think that is the opposite of economies of scale, right? So those are the costs or the disadvantages associated with expanding or growing as a business, right? Okay. And if I want to make this more relevant to you, if you look at your family, right? As the family grows bigger, you enjoy certain advantages. Example, gathering resources to undertake events is very simple because you have a lot of family members who can contribute. So that becomes an economies of scale. You can easily raise funds or gather resources, right? It's an advantage because your family is big. Compared to a family that is small, just about 3 members, mother, father, and a child, they cannot be able to raise funds easily compared to when the family has grown or has expanded. So the benefits you enjoy from expanding your business operations are termed as economies of scale. Now, the diseconomies of scale are the disadvantages or the costs associated with expansion. So with the scenario I gave, as your family is expanding with more family members, you see that one of the problems is taking quick and efficient decisions. Why? Because you have lots of family members who all want to contribute to one decision. Okay? So this person is saying A, the other is saying B, delaying the decision-making process. That becomes a disadvantage to the expansion of the family. So those become the diseconomies of scale. So you can look, I'm sure your economics teachers will talk more about it. Okay, then you have local market knowledge. So franchising in a way also helps, the foreign companies, or let me say the franchisor, get to know the characteristics of the market where the franchisees are operating. Okay, in a way to also have ideas to, spice up their brand and business model. Okay. So those are the advantages. Disadvantages, one of them is loss of control. Yes. If the franchisor is not very careful and doesn't regularly check what the franchisee is doing, they might lose control. Or better still, the franchisees virtually would have to follow and obey the rules of the franchisor. Okay, so they technically are losing some control to the franchisor. So KFC in Ghana cannot be doing things anyhow, because whatever the franchisor KFC says, or whatever rules they give or set out, they have to follow. And if you are following people's rules and instructions, you are losing control of your own business. Okay. We also have the issue of high cost, and I think you can tell this. The cost of paying for franchise fees and the regular royalties, is of cost to the business. There could also be conflicts, especially where, let's say, you say Ghanaians like hot pepper, okay, compared to maybe, and then they are saying, no, don't add more pepper. This is our brand. Less pepper. That conflict could be there. There could even be conflict about the sizes of the chicken. Maybe Ghanaians, we don't like our chicken so huge or so big. But the company will say, or the franchisor will say, please cut the chickens into bigger size. So there are issues of conflict whenever franchising approach is in action. Okay. So that is about franchising. Now they took us to joint venturing. Okay. So what is joint venture? I think I should have allowed professors to speak to me about that. What did you hear about joint venturing? Prof. Daniela, is your microphone working well now? Okay, I think Daniela might be struggling with. Let me go to Prof. Ethan. Prof. Ethan, joint venturing.
Hello, sir. Please, good morning.
Good morning.
Sir, please, the joint venture is when two separate companies they partner with each other in order to make a separate product.
Okay. Great. Any other from probably Prof. Portia you can add?
So please, joint venture is when two or more companies come together to start and run a business. That is by sharing profits, risks, and control.
Okay. So based on this definition, what can you say is the difference between franchising and joint venture? Okay, let me see. Yeah, Rashid.
So please, franchising involves thus you working under the parent company, whilst the joint venture involves thus you working with like independent companies working with each other.
Okay.
That's by sharing resources and materials to
Okay.
like complete a specific project.
Okay.
So you can simply say it's for this one a certain amount of time, but not like permanently.
Okay. That is a good submission. Thank you. But I think the clear distinction is that, as you saw in a franchising arrangement, the franchisee or one party called the franchisee would always have to pay some fees or franchise fee as well as royalties to the franchisor. And the franchisee has to always obey the rules set out and the business models and whatever systems, designed by the franchisor. So you can tell that there's some form of, one being independent and the other being what? Dependent. In this case, the franchisor is independent and the franchisee becomes dependent on the franchisor. But in joint venture arrangement, both parties are independent, right? Coming together to join resources, expertise to pursue a particular cause. So thank you very much for sharing those thoughts. Okay. So what are the advantages of joint venturing and disadvantages? So one of them, we have shared ownership between partners. So in joint venturing, the parties virtually become partners working together to a common goal. So there's shared ownership between partners, there's shared profits and losses, pooling of resources, as in pooling money, skills, or technology together to pursue a particular goal. Then some of the disadvantages, of course, you can talk about conflict, because in joint venturing, there can also be what? Conflict as well. There can be issue of loss of control, because, whenever partners meet and they have to take one decision, sometimes one would have to compromise, okay, or one will have to lose control for the other. So in joint venturing as well, as we saw in franchising, there's that loss of control, okay, because you are working with someone and you have to listen or abide. But I think that the loss of control in joint venturing is better than the one in franchise, right? I think you can appreciate that. Then we have the cultural and operational differences. Imagine a company in China, entering into joint venturing agreement with a company in Ghana. There's that cultural and operational differences. How the business in China operates is different from how the business in Ghana operates. So when they join or come together, that issue or that problem of cultural differences will pop up. Imagine the Chinese man speaking with the local or the Ghanaian employees who may not understand the Chinese, or maybe they are not even good with English as well. So then how do the Chinese manager communicate to these employees who are just local people, only able to understand their local language, right? It becomes a problem. Okay. Then we have complexity, and I think I've spoken about the conflict issues. It's also complex because sometimes the scenario I gave, China company against Ghana company coming together to work, is so complex. Sometimes some of the documentations, the agreement you have to go through is very complex. Okay. So we've seen the two approaches, franchising and joint venturing. The next one is license. And I think here too, I'll be glad if my professors can distinguish between licensing and franchising. Who will do that? The difference between licensing and franchising. This one, let me call everybody to share. Rashid is ready, but some people are not talking. Prof. Eugenia, I think you can share. Licensing and franchising, what is the difference? Prof. Selikem.
Yes, sir.
Yes, please share your thoughts.
Sir, please, for the licensing, there's low control, and for the franchising, there's high control.
Oh, okay. Okay. Any other from Josephine?
Yeah, please. I think with the franchising, it is when they allow they use the franchisor allows another franchisee to use its brand name. And then the licensing is when the licensor allows another licensee to use its intellectual property.
Okay. So Prof. Josephine is using the brand name or business model against intellectual property. Okay. Okay. So that is also a good distinction, right? So in franchising, virtually the franchisee is copying everything, right? But in licensing, the copying is only to use the property, the right to use the property, not to be copying dito everything, including their business model and all that. Is the right or the right to use that property, okay, of the originator is what is crucial in licensing, right? But in franchising, the full business system, the brand, the trademark, everything, okay, is granted to the franchisee. But in licensing, it's just the right to use the intellectual property or maybe the copyright or the technology, right? Okay. And as Selikem said, under franchising, there's that high level of control by the franchisor, okay? But in licensing, there's little or no, okay? The licensor does not necessarily control what the licensee does in terms of how to run the business, okay? And then you also appreciate that in franchising, the franchisor would be providing certain supportive services like training, marketing strategies and all that. But under licensing, you not get that. You not get the support from the licensor, right? Okay. So these are few distinctions you can make between franchising and what license. Okay. So I think the franchising, we mentioned some examples, like KFC. We can talk of MTN, right? MTN is part, these Guelph filling stations, they have their originator, and then when you go to several towns, you see them there, right? All these are under franchising, and you see the Guelph filling station in, let's say, Cape Coast cannot do anything differently from what the originator is doing. Okay, the quality, the fuel should be of the same quality, same price. Okay, but under licensing, for example, having Microsoft Windows on various laptops. Okay, these laptop manufacturing companies only get the license of that software or the Windows to install on their laptops, and that is it. Microsoft will not tell the laptop manufacturers to mold the laptop in this way, shape, or form. No, it's just the right to use your operating system on our laptop, and that's it. Okay. Okay, I think we've spoken enough or said a lot about. Please, if you have any question, you can ask. Okay. So with the licensing, as we have seen, it's also that contractual agreement or engagement where one party called the licensor, allows another company, the licensee, to produce and sell its product or to use their intellectual property in exchange for royalties. right? Okay. So that is more of intellectual property. Okay. But the intellectual property may be a brand name or a trademark or anything. Okay. So some of the advantages, I think you can appreciate them: revenue generation, low investment and risk, strategic partnership, market entry and expansion. So if you're a new business and you want to enter a market, sometimes it's better to get the license of an already established company, okay, to be able to enter the market easily, right? Some of the disadvantages: loss of control, which is not too much, under licensing, okay, the cultural differences, market and brand risks, and then limited long-term benefits. I'm sure professors can read more about this. Then the final one is the wholly owned subsidiary. Now, let me explain this, because I think when you go to the university, you hear about this subsidiary parent relationship. So we are saying that a business, right, an original business, okay, can create a new business. Now, this can be done in two forms. So you have the first one, greenfield investment, and the second one, acquisition. The greenfield investment is where the original company starts afresh by acquiring the land, building, hiring workers, etc. Then the second option is where the original company will go and buy an existing company, okay, and maybe change certain things to suit their original goals or aim, right? But the essence is that the original company, mostly called the parent company, acquires full control over the other company. So it's more or less like they are in the acquisition, they will go and buy the company. But in the greenfield, they will establish a new company. They will not buy an existing one. Okay. Now, if you do accounting, this full control, wholly owned control, there are standards that explains and provide guidance as to how you go about them. Okay. Sometimes a parent company can have, like, let's say 60% or 70% shares of the subsidiary, but they still have control over that particular subsidiary. Okay. So under international business, we are saying if a company is in the United States and they want to operate in Ghana, they can come and establish their company in Ghana by buying the land, building their offices, etc. And that will be the greenfield investment. But if they come and they buy an already established company in Ghana, then that will be what? Acquisition. Okay. So there are some advantages and some disadvantages, including high cost and investment. Yes, definitely. You would have to spend money, especially if you want to buy the company. If you want to establish a new one, buying the land, building does not come at zero cost. So there is high cost of investment, right? Risk exposure. So you are in Ghana, you are going to set up a business in China, or you are going to buy a business in China. You see the risk that is involved, right? It's possible that maybe even the laws of the Chinese country may not permit you to even have your business there, right? As well as the cultural and market challenges. Okay. So these were the approaches as outlined by the groups. Now they also led us to some terminologies. I explained them the last time. Competitive advantage, absolute cost advantage. Okay. And I want to believe professors are very okay with these concepts. Please, any question on Group 1's presentation about the approaches and the various terminologies? If professors want me to go about the terminologies, the comparative advantage, we said that, you see, this principle or this theory, right, provides a framework for understanding how international trade, okay, is beneficial to the countries or the businesses or the parties involved. So what is competitive advantage? Listen to the name, comparative advantage. So you have an advantage if you do some comparison. What are you comparing? Okay, what you are comparing is the ability to produce the goods at a lower cost. So you compare if one party can produce goods at a lower cost than you can, then we say the company that can produce it at a lower cost has a comparative advantage over you. So some countries enter into this, whether franchising or joint venturing or whatever, because they acknowledge that the other party or the other country has a comparative advantage. That country can produce at a lower cost compared to they producing it themselves. Okay, so I think let me see. They gave some example here. I think it will make sense to us. Let me read it. So look at it. It says country A can produce cocoa and rice, but produces cocoa more efficiently. Oh, sorry, I think I'm reading the wrong thing. This competitive. They didn't talk about the comparative advantage. Okay, no problem. Okay. So let me give an example here, right? Let me go to another slide so that you can understand this comparative advantage concept. These things are highly examinable, so don't joke with it. So comparative advantage. So let's say country A, right? Country A can produce or can use 10 units of resources to produce, let's say, one shoe. Okay, and they can also use 30 units of resources to produce, let's say, one computer. Please follow the example well so that I don't get confused. Then let's say we have another country B or another business B who would use 15 units to produce the same one shoe, and then can also use 20 units of resources to produce the one computer. So look at it well. So all the countries or all the businesses can produce shoe and computer, but look at it. A can use 10 units of resources to produce one shoe, but B will use how many? 15 units, okay, to produce the same one shoe. Now, if you look at the computer, A uses 30 units of resources, while B uses what? 20 units of resources. Let me ask this question, or I want professors to share their thoughts. What can you say about this? And would you be able to tell if it is prudent for maybe country A to produce, or rather not produce that particular one, but buy from country B? I want those analysis, please. Let's discuss and debate or argue about it. What can you tell from this data I have provided? Mm-hmm. Yes. Oh, no idea. Yes, Josephine.
Please, I think with country A,
Mm-hmm.
they can produce less of one shoe because they use only 10 units to produce.
Mm-hmm.
But with country B, they
Mm-hmm.
use 15 units. So meaning they can produce more of their commodity.
Okay, so you see, I think I need to take my time with these three concepts because they can be very confusing. Comparative, absolute cost, and competitive. Okay, so today let me explain the comparative, and please listen carefully. Now you see, the same country using resources to produce two different products, right? Now, if you look at it on the face value, you see that A is able to do better with using just 10 units to produce one shoe, and B does what? Uses 15, right? So on that score, you can make some judgment. But comparative advantage goes beyond that. It looks at what resources you are losing because you are producing a particular product over the other. So let's do some analysis here. If, look at it too, 10 units of resources can produce one shoe, 30 units of resources too can produce what? One computer. So let's look at it. If the company decides to produce the shoe, what will be, because if they use 10 units of resources to produce the shoe, those units of resources will be lost and cannot be used to produce computer. So there will be an issue of opportunity cost. If they want to produce shoe, they have to lose some of the resources that they would have used to produce their computer. And that is the key thing you have to assess when you are doing a comparative advantage, the opportunity cost of using the resources to produce one product over the other. So can we do some calculations here? So what will be the opportunity cost of producing one shoe? Mm-hmm. Yes, Augustine.
Sir, please, sir, please, sir, please, 30.
How did you get the 30?
Now who wants to be saved next? Sir, please, the opportunity cost is like the best, is like the option that is for go for an option.
Okay, so look at it, listen carefully. If 10 units can produce one shoe,
Yes, sir.
what percentage of these same units can be used to produce one computer? That's how you get your calculation. So if we didn't use the 10 units to produce the one shoe, how many computers would the 10 units be able to produce? Are you getting the point?
Sir, please, no.
If 10 units
Taliban is senior.
Okay, let me use the unit of resources. Let me do it maybe leather. Okay, if I say leather, then maybe I have to change the computer. So if you can use 10, or let me use, I want to use something that is relatable. Okay, let's say 10 gari, 10 bags of gari. 10 bags of gari to produce 1 gobe. Okay. And the same, so the question is, let me change the computer to, if it's not gobe, it could be soakings, right? So look at it too. You can use 10 bags of gari to produce just 1 gobe. And you can use 30 bags of the same gari, 30 bags of gari to produce 1 soakings. And I believe you know these soakings, right? Now the question is, we want to determine that if we didn't use these 10 bags of gari to produce the gobe, okay, how many of soakings can we produce with what? The bags, with the 10 bags of gari? Are you getting the concept now? So if you didn't use that your gari, okay, for gobe, could it have been able to do soakings? And if yes, you should be able to determine. So this is how you get it. Let me go on so that I don't confuse you. So if 10 bags of gari can only produce 1 gobe, the same 10 bags of gari, how many of soakings can it produce? You can get that by dividing. So that would be 10 divided by 30. Because it's stated here that for you to do 1 soakings, you need what? 30 bags. Okay. So if you have only 10 bags, how many of the soakings can you do? And I think when you punch this, you get what? Please, what will you get? 10 divided by 30. You get 0.333, right? 0.333. Does it make sense to you? Yes, because look at it. If 10 bags are being used to produce soakings, remember, for you to get 1 soaking, you need 30 bags. So if you have only 10 bags, then it means you're only getting, or you can only produce 0.33 of the soaking. Okay? So the opportunity cost of producing 1 gobe is 0.33 soakings. That's what it means, technically. Now let's do for when you decide to produce for 1 soakings. The opportunity cost of doing 1 soaking is, this time look at it too. 10 bags of gari can produce 1 gobe. If you are using 30 bags, how many gobe can you produce? Is it not 3? So that becomes 30 divided by what? 10, right? Which will give you 3 gobe. So if you don't use the 30 bags of gari to produce the soaking, you can produce, say, 3 gobe. Okay. Now let's do for country B. So let me change the shoe to gobe. And please, if you are lost, let me go back. If I'm able to get you to understand comparative advantage, I think we can end the class. So for country B, they will use 15 bags of gari to produce 1 gobe. And at certain point, they will use 20 bags of gari to produce 1 soakings. Or I should have used eba, 1 eba, or soakings is okay, since you relate to it. Okay. So let's calculate the opportunity cost. Okay. If we don't use these 15 bags of gari to per gobe and want to prepare soaking, how many soakings can we make from 15 bags of gari? We can only get that. So 1 gobe, the opportunity cost of producing 1 gobe in this case will be equivalent to we forfeiting 15 divided by what? 20. Okay, and that will give us how many soakings? 15 divided by 20. That will be 0.75.
0.75.
Thank you. 0.75 soakings. Then we do that for the what do you call it? Soakings. So if we decide to produce 1 soakings, the opportunity cost will be that 20 divided by what? 15, which will give us how many gobe? 20 divided by 15, that will be 1.3 gobe. And you see that it makes sense because you see the 20 bags of gari, the 15 can produce 1 gobe, and it will be left with 5. The 5 can only produce 0.3 of the gobe. That's why we have 1.3. Okay, so you divide to get the proportion of what you could have produced if you didn't use the resource to produce the other product, right? Okay. So when you have done this analysis, then you now ask, which of these countries has a comparative advantage in producing a particular product? And you use this opportunity cost to determine. So based on what you are seeing on the screen or the calculations we have done, what can you say about comparative advantage country A or B has? Yes, I'm listening, profs. Oh, professors cannot see. Yes, Josephine.
Sir, please, I would say country A produces 3 gobe. No, country A produces soakings at a lower opportunity cost than gobe. And country B produces soakings at a lower opportunity cost than gobe.
Okay. I think some people are not seeing, in fact, they are seeing stars. But if you are seeing stars, you need to ask me for more clarification. So, Josephine, that is true. So if you look at producing, what do you call it? Gobe, right? If country A produces 1 gobe, they sacrifice 0.33 soakings. But if country B produces 1 gobe, they sacrifice how many? 0.75 soakings. So who is doing better? A is doing better because they sacrifice less of soakings to produce 1 gobe. But look at B, they would have to sacrifice 0.75. Okay, but A would only sacrifice what? 0.33. Now, if you look at the soakings, country A produces 1 soaking, sacrificing 3 gobe. Okay, but country B produces 1 soakings, sacrificing only 1.3 gobe. So who is doing better in terms of producing soakings? Country B. And who is doing better in terms of producing gobe? Country A. So after doing this analysis, then it will make sense to say that then A should produce their gobe, but they should buy soakings from what? B. Okay, and then B should produce their soakings, but they should buy gobe from what? A. That's how you do the comparative advantage analysis. So when countries do these calculations and analysis, they say that, oh, instead of us producing, 1 soaking and we have to sacrifice 3 gobe, no, let's go and buy it from who? From B. So if they come and buy from B, what they will do is use their resources to produce the gobe, which they are also very good at producing, sacrificing less of the other resources. Does it make sense to you now?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I think I'll end here. In our next lesson, I'll speak about the absolute cost and the competitive advantage. I think I'll give you some short question, like some small data, and ask you to determine which business or which country has a competitive advantage in producing what product in your group as an assignment. Okay, great. So thank you, professors. I think our time is up. I'll end here. Wish you all the best and pray that you have a good day and a good weekend. So I'll see you on the page with the assignment. Take very good care of yourselves. Bye-bye. Please don't use AI to do the assignments. I beg you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.